Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the best animated shows ever, so far, with MC and Troy.
Alrighty. My name is Troy.
And I am MC.
And this is the show that still doesn't have a name, where we watch cartoons and talk about them. We are talking about My Hero Academia again. This is the second episode. My Hero Academia is a Japanese superhero manga and anime. And episode 2 is called What It Takes to Be a Hero, which aired April 10th in Japan, April 10th of 2016, and May 12th, 2018 in America. That still is bonkers to me that there's a 2-year gap. I wonder, I'm already off track, but I wonder if the dubbed version was available prior to that May 12th, 2018. Like if there was an English, or not the dub, but the subbed version. If there's an English sub.
I'm not sure because I didn't discover it until earlier this year. Like that's when I found out about it. So
I guess it's been this year I've been hearing about it. I think I've heard so many people talking about it that it feels like it's been longer.
Well, when was the second episode released? Like everywhere?
May 12th, 2018 in America. So a week later.
Okay. So do we know when it was released in Japan?
Japan was April 10th, 2016. So
okay,
so yeah. 2 years prior.
So yeah, it's probably been out for a while, and we just haven't.
It didn't really have the mainstream. All the like super cool Japanese anime fans were watching this years ago.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that this was a week later, honestly, because I feel like episodes 1 and 2 are so like. They're very much like part 1 and 2 of a story. I think.
Oh, you thought they should have been done at the same time?
Yeah, it seems like it would make sense to air them in a block. I think episode 3 it stands apart better, but episodes 1 and 2 to me is like one story.
It's an arc. Episodes 1 and 2 are an arc of a story.
Yeah, it's kind of the intro to the story, and then like at the end of episode 2, it's like, all right, this is now we're actually starting. The story. Episode 3 feels like the actual start of things, whereas 1 and 2 is very introductory. So yeah, it's interesting that they aired them a week apart. I would be really disappointed, I think, if I watched episode 1 and then had to wait a week to watch episode 2. It'd be like,
oh, I'd be really frustrated, which is why I'm glad I didn't find out about it until there was like several episodes out already, and I got to binge watch them.
Yeah, I think that's the better way to do this with the serialized storytelling. But anyway, let's talk about episode 2. Tell us what happened.
This begins with Katsuki and his friends. They're walking near Tatuni Station, and in the background, characters are questioning if Katsuki may have gone too far in the bullying of Izuku, but he says it.
Oh, that's me. It's time.
Yeah,
not id time.
It's time for the quirkless kid to learn how the world works. Then the goo monster pops out of the drop soda bottle and attacks Katsuki. Back on the rooftop, All Might turns back to the lanky version of himself that was teased in the first episode with the shadow bulking out. He explains that he has suffered a horrible wound from a fight 5 years earlier that limits his ability to do his superheroing except for 3 hours every day.
Is that what it is, 3 hours?
Yeah, it's 3 hours every day.
Okay.
And that's the risk of being a hero. He goes on to talk about how pros risk their life every single day. You're going to be he's trying to tell Izuki that heroes are there to put their lives on the line, so other normal citizens can't, and he's trying to get that point across. To like try and soften the blow when he tells him that he can't be a hero.
Yeah.
And he kind of leaves him on that roof to go and track down the supervillain that's been lost. No, wait. He leaves him on the roof debating whether or not he should still try and risk to trying to become a hero, I guess. And I think it is Zuko leaves. Like, he gets off the roof first.
Oh, does he? I thought that that would make more sense,
does...
because my memory of it is that All Might's just like basically like, anyway, you can't be a hero. Peace, and takes off down the roof.
Well, I'm pretty sure that he discovers he's lost the villain after he leaves, and he's still on the roof, isn't he?
I think it says he's walking down. Let's see.
But yeah, he looks down at his pockets where he was keeping the goo monster in bottles, and it's just gone.
Yeah, it's just as he leaves. So he leaves Izuku, and then immediately realizes, like, aw, snap, I dropped my sody pop. Pretty sure that's what he said. I dropped my sody pop.
Yeah.
I like that he puts the goo monster in a soda bottle. It's so dumb, but I like it.
Yeah. So we discover, like, what I was talking about in the last episode, where Katsuki, he's trying to, like, protect.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that conversation until I was looking back at my notes of this. But yeah, I have mixed feelings, because he does say that, like, basically it's for his own good and it's his fault and he needs to learn how the world works.
Yeah.
In regards to why he bullies Izuku Miyadori? Is that no?
Yeah.
Not Miyadori.
Midoriya.
Midoriya. Yeah. He basically he presents it there as if it is with good intention. I still don't know if I buy it, but he definitely makes more of an argument there than I remember.
Yeah, no, he makes a definite argument for what he's doing there, but it doesn't stop the fact he's kind of an asshole still about
still
it.
A jerk. Yeah, even if you're a jerk with good intentions, you're still a jerk.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that his goons were like, hey, maybe you should pull back a bit. Yeah, because I kind of expected them to, like,
to be more followers and not like
more Crab and Goyle and just be like, oh, that was cool, boss. And instead they're like, hey, maybe you think of, like, backing off just a little bit. I thought that was kind of interesting. It made those characters a little more interesting to me than they would be otherwise.
Well, I think they're supposed to actually be, like, portraying how kids might actually react.
Yeah, that's like, it felt much more real to me than Crab and Goyle. Like,
yeah, no, well, that's the thing. You can be friends with an asshole. Like, you can, and you can get along with them fine. But when they start to go a bit too far with someone else, and they're being like a real jerk, you can step in and be like, hey, do you think you're going a bit far?
Yeah, I like that.
Like,
it was nice dimensionality for those characters whose names I have no idea what they are. For those,
neither do I.
Nothing like personality-less background characters. They got just a little bit of personality there.
Oh yeah,
it was nice. I liked that. And then the goo monster shows back up and is horrifying again. But we'll talk more about.
Oh yeah,
in the next section.
I think how that ends, like, it cuts to this big green the big green goo monster. It's like towering over who we're gonna lovingly refer to as Spike from now on, because you got that in my head now, because he is Spike from Buffy. So it's like towering over him, and you think something bad's about to happen, but then it cuts to them on the roof, and All Might being like, I don't think you can be a hero. We put our lives on the line every day, and he shows him his injury, and he's like, I can
Yeah.
only be a superhero 3 hours a day.
Yeah, and he's
It,
got
like-
a nasty injury. Like, he pulls up his shirt and has like a hole basically in his side, and he says he lost his entire stomach. Like,
and like half of his respiratory system.
yeah,
And it's like,
he is messed up.
yeah, and it's like he explains like his big form is like how when you see guys at the pool and they're flexing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon that's the best thing about it. It's like, oh yeah, my power is like me, like some buff dude at the pool just flexing the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
I just get to portray myself as super strong, apparently. I'm not sure how that
Yeah.
works, because scrawny version of him is real scrawny. He is nothing.
He is stick thin.
Do you know what I call him in my notes when he's in his scrawny form?
What?
Jason Mewes.
I get that because his hair, when he's in his buff mode, it's sticking up and out.
He's
but
got two
when-
spikes on the
Yeah.
front of his hair that stick up and out.
Yeah, and then but when he goes back into his like skinny mode, they drop down, so they droop on either side of his face.
Yep. And he's wearing a baggy t-shirt and some baggy pants. He just looks, I'm like, he's just Jason Mewes. That's who he is.
Yeah.
He's let's see, what do we got? Oh, he pukes
Yeah,
up
and he
blood.
just-
that's like
Yeah,
right
he
away.
pukes up-
Izuku's like,
yeah.
how did you get so scrawny? That's gross. And he's like, no, it's not. I'm pretty cool. Blah, and just spews up a bunch of blood. Oh, he does that a lot in this episode,
Yeah.
and it's upsetting to me every time. Like, stop having blood come out of your mouth. Ugh.
And he just crushes that kid's dream, and he's just, and he's doing it for the same reason as the bully. Like, he wants to
protect him.
he wants to protect this kid. He doesn't want this kid to get hurt.
Yeah. I do like, he talks about that there's a lot of good things you can do in the world, even if you don't have quirks, and he calls out being a cop, that like you can be a perfectly fine cop without a quirk. You just aren't allowed to be a superhero. Period.
Yeah.
Not allowed.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's like, you can still help. You just can't be one of us.
Yeah. Which is like
Because you don't have a
exactly
quirk.
what Izuku doesn't want to hear. Like, all he wants to hear is that there's a chance
that he can be a hero, and it crushes him.
Yeah.
And he goes all doubting, and I'm not sure if it's the next. Yeah, it's the next scene that all that next stuff happens in. So do you want to discuss what happens in the next block?
Yeah, so back at Tatooine Station, the goo monster has just gone like full-on puppet master on Katsuku's body. He's completely taken over him. He's like got his goo monster face stretched over Katsuki's face, and so like his mouth is where Katsuki's should be. It's a really creepy image, and he's got Katsuki's powers too.
Oh, was really creepy is you can see the top half of his head, and then the monster's eyes are above it.
Like above it on either side of it, so it's like Katsuki's face is sticking out where it's supposed to be. It's nasty. There's all the heroes we met in the first episode are here. Death Arms is here, Backdraft is here, Kamui Woods is here, Mount Lady is here. None of them can do anything to take down this monster. They actually discussed that they don't have the right power set to take him down, which I thought was kind of cool.
And Backdraft is trying to put out all these fires because
they're on like complete
that's
crowd
the only
control.
thing that he can. Yeah. It's like he that's his job.
Yep. They're all managing the situation, but they're basically like, we have to wait until the right hero gets here. And as they're saying that, All Might comes running up, as all scrawny All Might. And he's like mad at himself. We hear an internal monologue where he's talking about he's disappointed himself for wasting time talking to that kid, that he's disappointed himself for not being able to join the fight. And then at the same time, Izuki kind of wanders up. It seems like from what I remember, he was kind of wandering around in a daze and is like, oh, look, I've wandered upon another superhero battle, because that just happens in this world. But he realizes that it is the goo monster and puts together that like, oh man, like I think that when I was clutching on to All Might's leg, I caused that bottle to fall. Holy smokes, it's my fault that Katsuki's in trouble. And he like makes eye contact with Katsuki and then just runs in. He runs through the crowd, charges at the monster, and he like has a flashback to his notes about how to fight supervillains, and he's like, I need to distract him, and he throws his backpack up, which distracts the monster long enough for him to get into Katsuki, who's like, what the hell are you doing here? And he's like, you needed help, I couldn't stand by. And he's now in the middle of it and definitely gonna get killed by a goo monster in just a second. I thought this was cool. I like seeing the heroes be outmatched. The first superhero fight we saw, they like handled it so easily that it was cool seeing them be like completely at a loss.
Oh my god! So the first fight, you're like, oh, so this is what this show is going to be. Like, the heroes are going to kick ass the whole time. And then this happens where this goo monster takes over this child that has a fairly powerful quirk, creating explosions, causing fires. And one of the big problems is Backdraft can't get in and take care of this enemy because he has to put out all these fires that have been started. Mm-hmm. Like, he's one of the few heroes there who might actually have a chance because of his fluid manipulation.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I could see Backdraft being more effective than he got to be here, but like you said, it's because he was like he was working defense, and it seems like that's kind of what Backdraft does. He is like he's like the druid of the party. Like he's a support character. he's not gonna go in there and man, it's been too long since I play MMOs. What's tank? He's not a tank. Like
he's not a tank.
He's not a tank. He's not DPS. He's there for support.
Yeah. Might do a little DPS when needed, but not his main role.
Do you remember why Mount Lady isn't effective in this fight?
Oh yeah, she can't get in there because there's only one lane. She needs 2 lanes to be able to get in anywhere.
And the line she says is, "My only weakness." I love that. Her weakness is that she needs a 2-lane road.
Small places. Small places is her weakness.
Why are you operating in a city? This is a very bad idea. Which made me wonder, is her power like most characters that have the ability to become gigantic as their power set, I feel like have levels of giganticism that they can do, and it seems like hers is just on or off. Like,
I mean, when she like shrinks back down, like the
normal.
animation shows stages of her shrinking down, but I don't think she stops at any of them.
Yeah, I don't think she can. I think she is big or she's not big. Yeah. My only weakness. Sorry. Let's see. And Mr. Woods, our favorite Groot knockoff, he can't do much in this fight because
explosions, fire.
He's made of wood. Just don't get in there. You just stay very far away. And then Death Arms, he punches good, but the dude's made of goo.
He can't get in close enough.
When he punches, he gets one punch on him, and his fist just like absorbs, sticky. Like he punched the blob. Yeah. Like, you can't do any good on that. Can't do any good.
Yeah, and pretty much he's afraid he's gonna hurt the kid inside. So
yeah, that's true. So let's see. We've got doubt here. This show likes to soliloquy. It does a lot of the characters thinking internally and letting us hear what they're thinking, and it seems mostly to be characters just being like super super down on themselves because both All Might and Izuku are like, I'm the worst.
And they both blame themselves for this thing happening. There's this thing that Izuku does that I call his spiral, and I'm not sure if it's this episode or just in the next episode, where he'll get into like muttering.
Yes,
and the words spiral around it.
Yeah, I think it's in the next episode that it has the scene of that. It's done that a little bit in the first 2 episodes where he gets literally wrapped up in his own thought process, and the show actually shows him shows those words encircling him, and it kind of blocks out his ability to process anything else. It's a cool effect.
And that's there's sort of that in this scene of him like spiraling into like this depressive state.
Yeah.
Of getting down on himself and blaming himself. But and the part of the scene, like right as they get off the roof and it has him walking the street and he sees the explosion and he goes to react to run towards it, and then he's like, oh no, I've just been told I can't be a hero, and he's like, he gets distracted and starts wandering the streets, and he ends up there eventually anyway.
Yeah. It's where he's supposed to be.
Yep. And All Might sees it from the top of the roof or something, and he goes running after it, like towards the explosion, and that's how he's sort of like, oh no, I lost this villain, it escaped, and he's beating himself up about that.
He has a line, I don't have it written down exactly, but the kind of end of that spiral is him looking at Katsuki and thinking a real hero is going to show up soon. Someone will show up. And as he's thinking that, he rushes in. And
yeah,
MC, it's because he's the real hero. he was the real hero all along.
Yeah.
I like
that
this
whole scene leading up to him just seeing this person who's been bullying him for like half of his life, and just the sheer look of terror on like this person he knows face.
This person he knows is a jerk. Like
yeah, like, and he can't help himself.
Yep.
He has to run in to save this person. It's not like something that he thought through. It's instinctual that he does this.
Yep.
And
I like it.
His brain works so fast, and he's like, oh, okay, what do I need to do to try and help him? And he flings his book bag, and it hits the creature in the eye with one of his notebooks, and then he goes up to this creature, and he's just trying to tear at it with his bare hands to get this.
Literally trying to dig the goo off of him.
Yeah, and he frees this like this bully's mouth, and he berates him. He's like, I don't need your help.
Yeah, what are you doing here? Get out of here.
Yeah. And he's like,
So
I
sad.
couldn't help it. My legs moved on their own.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
And it's like a really emotional scene.
He's just got to do good. Like, he cannot help but do the right thing, which we saw in the first episode in that flashback to when he was a little kid, when he was like 4 years old, and he was standing up to bullies who weren't bullying him. They were bullying someone else, and he had to step in to do the right thing. He's just such a good boy. MC, he's such a good boy. He just wants to do the right thing. Yeah, so he rushes in. He gets Katsuki just a little bit free, but like there's nothing he can do against this goo monster. Like impending death.
Not really. So we'll get into the last section now. The goo monster recovers and moves to attack the two boys, and is stopped when All Might, back in his bulky form, enters the fray and praises Izuku for risking his life to save the others, and explodes the goo monster with a Detroit smash. As the police start to collect the villain, and there are two heroes, Death Arms and Kamumi Woods, berate Izuku for running in so rashly. Later, Katsuki yells at Izuku that he didn't need his help and would have handled the situation on his own. Izuku is feeling at his lowest. All Might shows up again. He admits that even without a quirk, it was Izuku who saved the day by acting to protect the others without thinking about it himself. Izuku starts to cry, and All Might assures him that he can become a hero. So
it's so good.
So there's a scene in here. It's like the goo monster is coming back from being hit in the eye. He's starting to cover Bakugo back up, like Spike back up in his goo, and he's about to absorb or smash
Deku.
Deku.
Izuku.
Yeah. He's literally about to attack this small child who's just trying to help his friend.
Yeah.
And this slime villain is not having any of it. And this act of running in recklessly, not thinking about his own safety, is what gives All Might the courage to bulk back up.
Yeah. He's inspired, man. He pushes past his physical limitations. Even though he's out of time to be all super, he does it anyway.
Yep.
Does a Detroit smash, which I love. So I think he hits him twice in this one. He hits him once and then does a Detroit smash, which is apparently way better than a Texas smash, because the Detroit smash like explodes this thing everywhere, because then we see police officers with like trash bags full of
of goo.
He killed that dude, right? Like that goo monster before was just beaten and contained.
Here's the thing that because he changed the weather pattern with the Detroit smash as well.
Yeah, I forgot that.
Makes the clouds form and puts out all the fires as well. So with that, did the slime monster sort of get like dissolved down a little bit? So that's why there's so many trash bags, or what?
That could be it.
The little trash bags of the collection of this villain is like probably half a dump truck worth of trash bags.
There's a lot of goo bags.
Yeah.
I don't like the goo monster. He's upsetting to me.
As this is happening, like, even though All Might's like praised Deku for his like courage and rushing in, there's two the two other pro heroes are berating him afterwards, because he was rash and he didn't think it through and he just sort of ran in. And he's kind of feeling down and he's like, oh, I didn't do the right thing. And
the other kid, freaking Spike, is getting like praised by heroes where they're like, oh, you're so brave, you've got such a good power, you should totally like join my agency and be my sidekick. And I'm like, he didn't do anything. All he did was get attacked by a goo monster.
And here's the thing, he's all upset and stuff.
Yeah, like he clearly knows that he doesn't deserve this.
Yeah, he didn't deserve the praise that he's getting, and he feels like he wasn't as effective as he should have been in this situation, and he's kind of feeling ashamed that this quirkless, powerless person ran in to help him.
Yeah, like, you have nothing going for you, and you help me, and I think he's like, I don't know if I would have done that, and I've got powers, and I don't know if I would have run in to save somebody. He knows he's not worthy. He's realizing that just because he has powers, it doesn't make him worthy.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. Like, it's making him think about it. But it doesn't seem to change his attitude at all.
Not in the slightest. He knows it now, but he still acts exactly the same.
Oh, yeah. But he's thinking about it, and he's thinking about himself and how he can do more, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you get when he does the sulky yelling at him.
Yeah, for like no reason. Like, Deku's like, it looks like it's hours later, and he's walking home, and then Katsuki just comes running up out of nowhere and is like, "Well, I totally had that under control, by the way. I knew what I was doing. I didn't need your help." It's like, dude, you had a goo monster entirely take over your body, and you blew up half of downtown. You did not have control of the situation.
I like Deku's reaction, where he's just like, he looks at him and he's like, it's understanding of the bully's character, and that this is his way of coping with what's happened.
Yeah, like the note that I wrote down is that Spike is working through some stuff, but that wasn't just a note that I wrote down. Like, it seems like Azuki realizes that too. He's like, you know what?
Yeah,
he's had a day. Like, I get it.
He's letting him work through his issue.
Yeah.
Of this powerless person coming in to save him.
Because he's such a good boy.
Yeah. And then All Might shows up after after he gets yelled at. This is probably the best bit.
Yeah. So All Might. So then All Might shows up.
Yeah, and he's all buff and swollen. He's doing all his poses and stuff, and he's about to launch into like this whole like ego-driven speech, and he goes, "Ah!" And he spits out some blood, and he turns back into Jason Mewes.
Yep, just all the puking up blood. So he has more of an in-depth conversation here about how the seeing Izuku throw himself into the fray was so inspiring to him, and that's kind of what helped him to realize that he needed to get in there, because like that's what superheroing is.
It gave him the push to release his power enough that he could take care of this villain that's attacking these poor boys.
Yeah. And then we have more flashback of Izuki thinking about his mom and how he found out when he was a kid he was never going to have a quirk and he wanted to be a hero anyway, and his mom didn't tell him the one thing that he needed to hear. And then it cuts to All Might, who says, "Young man, you too can be a hero." It's so good.
I'm not joking. I cried at that bit.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah,
it's
so
for like
good.
I mean, he's in middle school now, so he's like, this is like maybe 6 to 8 years after he found out he wasn't gonna have a quirk, and for like that entire time, all he's wanted is for someone to say like, "There's a chance," and all he's ever heard is, "There's no chance," and finally someone says, "There's a chance." It's so good,
and he's just bawling his eyes out.
He's so sad.
But it's a happy sad.
Yeah. It's so you say it's a happy sad. I didn't even really get necessarily that it was a happy sad, to be honest, because he is just like such a wreck. He is like curled up on the ground, just sobbing. It's like a painful crying session, which I think is why it's so impactful, because he's just like, he's letting out 6 years of like frustration and worry and like self-doubt and just
yeah, it's because it shows the doctor scene, and then it cuts back to him, and he's at home after the doctors said that he's not going to have any quirks, and he's watching that All Might video where he's carrying all those people, and he's smiling and laughing, and he's just like saving people, and he's like, "It's going to be all right because I'm here." And he's like, I just want to hear someone. He's like, "Can I be a hero?" to his mum, and he's bawling as a little kid in this chair watching his favorite hero save all these people, and his mum's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and she hugs him, but that's not what he wants to hear.
Yeah,
like he wants to hear he can still be a hero.
Just tell him there's a chance. Just there's a chance.
But his mum doesn't also want to lie to him, so I'm guessing that's why. And there's all this emotion, and you can clearly see he's thinking about all these times he's been told no, and he finally gets told yes, you can be a hero, and he just breaks down.
Yeah,
because
it's really
it's
good.
So emotional for him.
Yeah,
and I swear, if you're not hooked at that point, that you want to watch this whole show all the way through, I don't know what's wrong with you.
I agree, and I think that we can use that to transition into like wrap up thoughts. I loved this episode, and it totally did hook me in. Like I said, the very end of the first episode made me want to know what was going on with All Might, and the answer's kind of disappointing when it happens in this episode, because it's just that, like, I thought it was going to be something nefarious, and instead it's just like he got hurt, and so he can't stay super buff looking all the time, which is weird, because but that's a weird power. It's not a power, but it's a weird effect. Yeah. And so it's like, well, that's odd, but okay, I'm still watching. And then you get to the scene at the end, and it's just like, oh man, I want to keep watching, because I want to see this kid succeed. He's so good and pure, and I just want him to do good. I want to see him do good. I just want him to do good.
I found this like this episode's an emotional roller coaster, because it starts so low, like
Which
like,
you think
the
it's going to
whole-
start high because the last episode ends with, "Can I be a hero?" And All Might turns and looks at him. And so you're like, "Aw, shit, yeah."
Oh,
All Might's going to
yeah.
be like, "Heck yeah, you can. Superhero high five. Let's go save the day." And that's not what
Yeah.
happens at all. Instead, it
No.
starts off with like, "Can I be a hero?" No. Oh.
And it's like the next like 20 minutes is just like the ride up to like the
Yeah.
top,
Yeah.
and then the end of the episode is that drop
yeah.
on a roller coaster. Like you're just like, how am I supposed to feel right now? Like,
yeah, because it's like it's exciting, but it's also like I said, he's working through so much stuff that he's so sad,
Yeah.
or happy, or both, or frustrated and scared, and
it's not just him. There's 3 of the main characters: All Might,
mm-hmm.
Spike, and Deku.
They're
of
all
them
working through so
emotional
much stuff.
toil. Yeah.
For I mean, this is like 40 minutes total of this cartoon that we've watched. It set up like a lot of emotional conflict, which so I said in the last episode that I like superhero comics, and so it feels silly for me to have to realize this, but my response at the end of this was like, wow, they have like some deep emotional stuff in this superhero thing. That's so surprising. But it's not surprising because that's what good comics are. Like, good superhero stories are grounded in having like deep emotional conflicts. Like that's what makes superheroes interesting, is getting into their conflicts. And I expected this show to be a lot more superficial. I didn't expect it to get into like the self-doubt and guilt and that kind of stuff the way that it does right off the bat.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, you don't think that this is going to be the effect that this is going to have. Like, you don't think about like this, but then you think about, well, what about the Killing Joke?
Oh yeah,
and the emotional conflict in that sort of thing. It's like
that's what comics
sort of
do.
a similar. Yeah. It's like it's like it's not the same thing, but it's very similar, like the emotional conflict that all that has. And it's like, you can tell this show is actually trying to build something important.
Yeah.
Like, it's
absolutely.
building up to something. Like, it's trying to not just tell a superhero story, it's trying to show a human one.
Yeah.
With superheroes.
Definitely. The other comparison that I drew from it when I was watching it, which we talked about it last episode already, but Doctor Who this season, her kind of thesis statement is that she just wants to help people. That's who she is when someone needs help, she's going to help them. And that's like totally what Izuku's about, is like, he's just going to help. Even if it's a stupid idea to do it, he's going to do it. And I love it.
The Doctor Who episode with the medical ship.
Mm-hmm.
And she introduces herself as the doctor, and she's like, and the nurse is like, of medicine, and she lists through a whole bunch of things, and then at the end, the doctor says, "and of hope," and then she goes, "mostly of hope."
Mostly,
and
of hope.
that's how the doctor sees, like, themselves. Like,
yeah.
They're a doctor of hope. They're trying to give people hope, and that's like perfect analogy for like how everyone should be.
And also a doctor of Lego. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah.
I just love that Lego was one of the things.
I forgot about that.
And also Lego.
Yeah.
Let's see. Does this episode hold up? Heck yeah, it does. And it is like, it definitely feels like it is the end of a 2-part to me.
Yeah.
And so the first episode was like pretty good. The first 2 episodes together are phenomenal. I really liked it. Liked it. Thank you for making me watch this show.
I am glad to have done so. I'm glad Scoot showed it to me.
Yeah, thanks, Scoot. Cool. Anything else for episode 2?
No, I think that's all.
Awesome. Thank you for listening to this Untitled podcast project, and we will look for you next week when we watch episode 3 of My Hero Academia. And episode 3 also is an episode with a title. I should really pull these up in advance. And the title of episode 3 is Roaring Muscles.
Yes, it is.
It's
foreshadowing.
Oh, is it?
For the end of the episode.
I mean, okay. I guess I could see that. Anyway, we'll talk about that next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the best animated shows ever so far. Find the show on Twitter at BaseSFcast or email us at basesfcast@gmail.com. That's BASESFCAST. Our intro music is Funnin' and Sunnin', and our outro music is Motivator, both by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com, and licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Thanks again for listening, and tune in next time.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
At Probably Work for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.